Part 2. First contact. The cantina was a small building made of gray metal. It had been built for workers to eat their meals and rest between shifts. But Dave Kowalski had turned it into something else. Through the windows, Velthraxis could see strange equipment. Tubes and tanks and bubbling containers filled the space. It looked like a laboratory, but it smelled like something else entirely. She positioned her team around the building. Snipers on the rooftops, breaching specialists at every door. The psionic operative, Sithara, began scanning the structure for any traps or hidden weapons. "He is alone," Sithara reported. Her voice was soft and musical, but her eyes were cold. "I am attempting to read his thoughts." Velthraxis waited. Sithara was the best psionic operative in the Shadow Caste. She could pull memories from the minds of the strongest warriors. She could make enemies see their worst fears. Reading the mind of one human should take only seconds, but seconds passed. Then a minute. Sithara's face twisted in confusion. "What do you see?" Velthraxis asked. "I do not understand," Sithara said slowly. "His mind is filled with strange things. He is thinking about something called fantasy football. He is angry at someone named Todd. He's wondering if he added too much of something called hops to his latest batch." She paused. "There is no fear, no plan for escape. He knows we are here, but he does not seem to care." This was unexpected. Every species in the galaxy feared the Shadow Caste. Their reputation was known on 1,000 worlds. The mere sight of their black armor made enemies surrender. But this human was thinking about football and beer. Velthraxis decided to end this quickly. She walked to the cantina's main entrance and stepped inside. The smell hit her first. It was strong and strange, sweet and bitter at the same time. The source was the equipment that filled the room. Tanks of bubbling liquid, tubes connecting everything together. And in the middle of it all, sitting on a stool at a makeshift bar, was Dave Kowalski. He looked exactly like his file image. Brown hair, slightly messy. Average build, slightly soft around the middle. He wore dirty work clothes and held a glass of amber liquid. He was looking at her with an expression of mild interest, like she was a neighbor who had dropped by unexpectedly. "You are under arrest," Velthraxis announced in perfect Terran standard. She had learned the human language for this mission. "You have committed crimes against the galactic hegemony. You will come with us." Dave took a sip of his drink. "Oh, you're here about the union thing, aren't you?" Velthraxis blinked. All four of her eyes blinked at once. "The what?" "The union. The workers' collective. Whatever you want to call it." Dave shrugged. "Look, I get it. Your bosses are upset. But you have to understand, these people were working 18-hour shifts with no breaks. The food was terrible. Half of them were sick. I just helped them organize a little bit. You sabotaged mining equipment. You attacked security personnel. The equipment was already broken. I just made it harder to fix. And those security guys started it. I just finished it." He smiled. "Besides, nobody got seriously hurt. A few broken bones, some bruised egos, nothing permanent." Velthraxis raised her weapon. "This is not a negotiation. You will surrender or you will be killed." Dave sighed. He looked genuinely disappointed. "Yeah, I figured you'd say that." He looked at the glass in his hand, then at a large container of amber liquid on the bar. "Listen, before we do this whole thing, do you want to try my beer? I finally got the recipe right. Took me 6 months to figure out how to ferment with the local microorganisms, but I think this batch is really good. I do not want your primitive beverage. Your loss." Dave stood up slowly. He was not a big man. He was not a strong man. He looked exactly like what his file said he was, a middle-aged maintenance worker from a cold place on a small planet. But there was something in his eyes that made Velthraxis uncomfortable. It was not fear. It was not desperation. It was something else. Something she could not name. Dave walked toward her, still holding his glass. You know what the problem is with you hegemony types? You think size and power are the same thing. You think having the biggest guns means you always win. We have ruled for 12,000 years. We have conquered hundreds of species. We have never lost. Never lost a war, Dave corrected. But wars aren't won by armies. They're won by logistics, by supply lines, by the guy who fixes the heating system when it breaks in the middle of winter. He smiled. And right now, you're standing in my heating system. He handed his glass to Sithara, who had entered behind Velthraxis. The psionic operative took it automatically, confused by the gesture. Hold my beer, Dave said. Then he reached out and touched a panel on the wall. The lights went out. In the darkness, Velthraxis heard Dave's voice, calm and almost cheerful. Now, let me show you what a guy from Duluth can do when he's bored and slightly drunk. Somewhere in the building, something began to hiss. The temperature dropped suddenly, and Velthraxis realized, with a growing sense of alarm, that she had made a terrible mistake. This human was not a victim. He was a trap, and they had walked right into it. Part 1. The assignment, the warship, inevitable conclusion, hung in the darkness between stars, like a knife waiting to fall. It was 3 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to burn a small moon to ash. Inside its black metal walls, Commander Velthraxis walked through corridors that smelled of recycled air and cold purpose. She was tall, even for her species. Her skin was the color of deep water, and her 4 eyes glowed with a soft yellow light. She had served the galactic hegemony for 200 years. She had killed more enemies than she could remember. She had never failed a mission. Today, she had been called to the briefing chamber by High Command. This was unusual. The Shadow Caste did not receive orders directly from the highest levels. They were given targets, and they eliminated those targets. Simple, clean, efficient. The briefing chamber was a circular room with walls that displayed star maps and tactical data. 3 holograms floated in the center, showing the faces of High Command. They were old and powerful, and did not waste time on pleasantries. Commander Velthraxis, the central figure said, you are being assigned to a priority mission. Species 2491 has become a problem. Velthraxis searched her memory. Species 2491. Humans. A young race from a small planet in an unimportant system. They had been contacted only 15 years ago. They were considered primitive, but surprisingly adaptable. The hegemony had placed them in Category 3, useful for manual labor, not a threat. What kind of problem? She asked. The hologram shifted to show a planet. Kureth 7, a mining colony on the edge of hegemony space. It produced rare metals used in ship construction. The colony employed 12,000 workers from various conquered species. 8 months ago, a human transport ship experienced engine failure near Kureth 7. The ship was destroyed, but 1 passenger survived. He was recovered by the colony and put to work in maintenance. The hologram changed to show a face. Male human. Brown hair. Average build. Tired eyes. His name is Dave Kowalski. He's from a place called Duluth, Minnesota, on the human homeworld. Velthraxis studied the face. It was unremarkable. The human looked like someone who had worked hard his whole life and had nothing to show for it. In the past 8 months, the High Command continued. This single human has caused significant disruption to operations on Kureth 7. He has sabotaged mining equipment. He has disrupted ore shipments. He has convinced the worker population to make demands. The hologram displayed a list of these demands. Better food. Medical care. Something called weekends. The colony administrator attempted to arrest him. The briefing continued. The security team sent to capture him returned with broken bones and a strong smell of alcohol. A second team was sent. They have not been heard from in 3 days. Velthraxis felt a small spark of interest. This was unusual. Humans were not known for combat ability. They were soft creatures with no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. Their only notable trait was their ability to survive in harsh environments. "You want me to kill him?" she asked. "We want you to make an example of him. The worker population must see that resistance to the hegemony is hopeless. Take your full team. End this quickly." Velthraxis nodded. Their full team was the Shroud Unit, 12 elite operatives from 6 different species. Each one was a perfect killing machine. They had been enhanced with genetic modifications and cybernetic implants. They had ended 32 rebellions across hegemony space. They had conquered worlds, and now they were being sent to kill one maintenance worker. It seemed like a waste of resources. But Velthraxis did not question orders. She simply followed them. She assembled her team in the drop bay. They stood in perfect formation, their weapons gleaming under the harsh lights. There was Crix, the heavy weapons specialist, whose body was more machine than flesh. There was Sithara, the psionic operative, who could reach into minds and tear out secrets. There were the twins, Vex and Vox, whose forearms could fire 8 weapons at once, and 8 others, each one a master of death. "Our target is one human," Velthraxis told them. "He has no military training. His records show he worked on heating and cooling systems on his homeworld. He should not be a challenge. Then why send us?" Crix asked. His voice was like grinding metal. "Because High Command wants to send a message. The workers on Kareth 7 need to see that the hegemony responds to rebellion with overwhelming force." She paused. "We will be in and out in 4 hours. Standard capture and elimination protocol." The team acknowledged the order. They loaded into the assault shuttle and dropped toward Karath-7. The planet was gray and lifeless. Its surface was covered with mining equipment and processing facilities. The colony was a sprawling complex of metal buildings and underground tunnels. 12,000 workers lived there, digging precious metals from the ground. Velthraxis reviewed the humans' file during the descent. Dave Kowalski, 43 years old, born in a cold region of his homeworld. He had worked as something called an HVAC technician for 15 years. She did not know what this meant, but it sounded unimpressive. He had no family, no military service. His only listed hobby was something called amateur brewing. She felt almost sorry for him. He had survived a ship crash and been stranded on an alien world. He had tried to help the workers around him. And now he was going to die because he had annoyed the wrong people. But that was how the galaxy worked. The hegemony had ruled for 12,000 years. They had conquered 847 species. They did not tolerate resistance. They did not negotiate with primitives. They simply crushed anything that stood in their way. The shuttle landed in the colony's main docking bay. The Shroud Unit moved out in perfect formation, their weapons ready, their senses alert. They spread through the complex like shadows, searching for their target. Velthraxis checked her scanner. The human's biosignature was coming from a structure on the colony's eastern edge. A worker, Cantina. He was alone. She smiled. This would be easy. She had no idea how wrong she was. Part 4. Escalation by Hour 10. Commander Velthraxis had only 4 operational team members left. The rest were injured, trapped, or in the case of Sithara, sitting in a corner muttering about losing something. Velthraxis called for extraction. The assault shuttle was their way off this cursed planet. They would retreat, regroup, and return with more forces. The shuttle pilot's response destroyed that plan. "Commander, We have a problem. The engines will not start. What do you mean they will not start? Someone has introduced a foreign substance into the fuel lines. Our diagnostics show it is some kind of organic compound. Alcohol-based. It smells like... The pilot paused. It smells like beer. Valthraxis closed her 4 eyes and counted to 10. When she opened them, her remaining team was looking at her with expressions of disbelief. "He put beer in our spaceship," one of them said. "Yes. How?" "I do not know. But I am beginning to understand that asking how is the wrong question with this human." Dave's voice crackled through the colony's communication system. He had been quiet for the last hour. Now he was back. "So here's the thing," Dave said. He sounded tired, but also somehow cheerful. "I really don't want to hurt anyone. That's not who I am. Back on Earth, I was just a regular guy. I fixed air conditioners. I watched football on Sundays. I made beer in my garage. I was nobody special. Then why are you doing this?" Valthraxis shouted at the ceiling. "Because you didn't give me a choice." Dave's voice lost some of its humor. "When I crashed on this planet, I just wanted to survive. I just wanted to go home. But then I saw how you treat these workers. 18-hour shifts. Dangerous conditions. No medical care. Food that wouldn't pass inspection in a prison cafeteria. These people are suffering, and nobody cares. They are workers. They serve the hegemony. They are people. They have names. They have families. They have dreams. And you treat them like they are nothing." Valthraxis did not know how to respond. In 200 years of service, she had never had this conversation. The hegemony conquered. The conquered served. That was the natural order of things. You want to know the human advantage? Dave continued. It's not strength. We're not strong. It's not speed. We're pretty slow, actually. It's not technology. You've got us beat there by about 1,000 years. Then what is it? We break things. Dave's voice was matter-of-fact. It's what we do. We look at any system, mechanical, biological, political, and we immediately start thinking about how to take it apart, how to exploit it, how to make it fail. That is not an advantage. That is destruction. It's both. Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. Every revolution starts by breaking the old system. Every new invention starts by questioning the old way of doing things. Every act of freedom starts by rejecting the rules. The temperature in Valthraxis' section began to drop. She could see her breath forming clouds in the air. Dave had done something to the climate control. Your facility was designed to be efficient, Dave said. But efficiency creates weakness. Every system connects to every other system. One failure cascades into another. And I've had 8 months to learn where all the weak points are. You cannot win, Valthraxis said. Her voice was shaking from cold or from something else. She was not sure. Even if you defeat us, they will send more. They will send armies. They will burn this colony to the ground. Maybe, but maybe not. Because here's the other thing about humans. We're stubborn. Incredibly, irrationally stubborn. We don't give up. We don't back down. We fight battles we can't win just because we think they're worth fighting. Dave paused. And sometimes, just sometimes, we win anyway. Valthraxis pulled her armor tighter around her body. The cold was getting worse. Her remaining team members were struggling too. Their species was not designed for low temperatures. What do you want? She finally asked. I want to talk. In person. No weapons. No tricks. Just a conversation between two intelligent beings. How do I know this is not a trap? Dave laughed. Everything I've done tonight has been a trap. But this isn't. This is me giving you a way out that doesn't end with more of your people getting hurt. Valthraxis considered her options. She could continue fighting, but her team was broken. Her shuttle was disabled. The cold was getting worse by the minute. She could wait for reinforcements, but that would take days. By then, she would be frozen solid, or she could talk. She had never talked to an enemy before. The hegemony did not talk. They demanded. They conquered. They destroyed. But this enemy was different. This enemy was not trying to kill her. He was trying to teach her something. Where? She asked. The cantina. Where we first met. I'll put the heat back on. I'll even pour you a drink. Dave's voice softened. Trust me. I know that's a hard thing to ask. But I promise you, nobody else has to get hurt tonight. Valthraxis made her decision. I will come alone. That's all I ask. The cold stopped getting worse. Somewhere in the facility, Dave had started warming things up again. Valthraxis walked toward the cantina, alone, unarmed, and wondering what she was about to learn. Part 3. The education begins the first thing. Valthraxis learned about humans was that they could see better in darkness than expected. The second thing she learned was that Dave Kowalski knew this building better than she knew her own ship. When the lights went out, her team activated their night vision implants. The world turned green and gray. But Dave was already gone. He had vanished into the maze of pipes and equipment like smoke. Find him, Valthraxis ordered through her communicator. He cannot have gone far. Two of her operatives moved into the maintenance tunnels behind the cantina. These tunnels connected the entire colony. They carried power cables, water pipes, and ventilation ducts. They were narrow and dark and filled with machinery. 3 minutes later, a scream came through the communicator. Then silence. Report. Valthraxis demanded. No response. She sent another team to investigate. They found the first two operatives stuck to the ceiling. The gravity plating in that section had been reversed. They were alive but unable to move. Every time they tried to pull themselves down, they fell back up. How did he do this? One of her operatives asked. He's a maintenance worker, Valthraxis said slowly. The words fell heavy in her mouth. He fixes these systems. He knows how they work. Knowing how something works and using it as a weapon are different things. Apparently not for humans. The next attack came from the steam pipes. Crix, the heavy weapons specialist, was moving through a corridor when a valve suddenly burst open. Superheated steam filled the hallway. Crix's armor protected his body, but his optical sensors were overloaded. He stumbled blind into a wall and collapsed. Dave's voice came through the colony's speaker system. He had somehow accessed the communication network. Sorry about that, he said. He actually sounded apologetic. But you guys really should have called ahead. I could have prepared snacks. Show yourself, Valthraxis shouted at the ceiling. I don't think I will. This is more fun. The psionic operative, Sithara, tried again to locate Dave with her mental powers. She reached out through the colony, searching for his mind. She found it. And then she screamed. Valthraxis rushed to her side. Sithara was on her knees, holding her head. Her eyes were wide and unfocused. What happened? What did you see? He showed me something, Sithara whispered. A game. A terrible game. He said I had lost it. He said I would never stop thinking about it. He said, she stopped. Her face went blank. I just lost the game. What game? What are you talking about? But Sithara could not answer. She kept muttering about losing something. She was completely useless for the rest of the mission. Valthraxis had never seen anything like this. Sithara had broken the minds of warriors and kings. And now she was defeated by some kind of human mental trick. The Shroud unit continued searching. They moved more carefully now. They checked every corner. They scanned every room. But Dave was always one step ahead. The twins, Vex and Vox, chased him into the ore processing facility. It was a massive building filled with conveyor belts and sorting machines. Mountains of raw ore moved through the space on their way to refinement. Dave disappeared behind a control panel. The twins followed. 30 seconds later, Vex was trapped in a conveyor belt. The machinery had grabbed him and pulled him into the sorting system. He was being moved toward a crusher. Vox tried to save her brother, but the sorting drones had been reprogrammed. They saw her as an irregular ore sample. 50 small robots with mechanical claws descended on her, trying to move her to the correct processing bin. Dave's voice came through the speakers again. You know, this facility was really badly designed. So many single points of failure. I spent my first month here just making a list of everything that could go wrong. He paused. It was a very long list. Valthraxis finally found him on the upper level of the processing facility. He was standing at a control console, typing commands. He looked relaxed. He looked like he was enjoying himself. "Surrender now," she said, raising her weapon. "I will not ask again." Dave turned to face her. He was smiling. "You know what's funny? Your people have been running this colony for 50 years. You have better technology than anything on Earth, but nobody ever bothered to learn how the basic systems work. You just expected them to keep running forever." He shook his head. "That's not how machines work. They break down. They need maintenance. They need someone who understands them. You are one man against an empire. I'm one man who knows which pipe to turn off to make the water stop flowing. I'm one man who knows which cable to cut to make the lights go dark. I'm one man who knows that if you reverse the polarity on the waste recycler, it becomes a very effective foam cannon." As if to demonstrate, a spray of thick white foam erupted from a vent behind Valthraxis. It covered her in seconds. It was not dangerous, but it was sticky and heavy. She could barely move. Dave walked past her, stepping carefully around the foam. "I'm going to go check on your team," he said. "Some of them might need medical attention. Don't worry, I'll make sure everyone survives. I'm not a killer." He stopped at the door. "But I am very, very good at making people uncomfortable." Then he was gone. Valthraxis spent 20 minutes getting free of the foam. By then, 3 more of her operatives had been neutralized. One was locked in a freezer. One was stuck in an elevator between floors. One had been chased into a storage room by a swarm of cleaning robots that Dave had reprogrammed to follow anyone with a weapon. 8 hours into a 4-hour mission, the Shroud unit was falling apart, and Dave Kowalski was still out there, probably drinking beer and laughing at them. Part 5. Terms of surrender. The cantina was warm when Valthraxis entered. The strange brewing equipment was still bubbling. Dave Kowalski sat at the bar, 2 glasses in front of him. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes and dirt on his clothes. But he was smiling. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Sit down, please." Valthraxis sat across from him. She had left her weapons outside, as promised. She felt naked without them, vulnerable, but also strangely calm. Dave pushed one of the glasses toward her. "Try it. Seriously. I've been working on this recipe for 8 months. It's the best thing I've ever made." She picked up the glass and looked at the amber liquid inside. It smelled strange. Sweet and bitter and something else she could not identify. "It will not poison me? If I wanted to poison you, I would have done it hours ago. When you were stuck in that foam." Dave smiled. "No, this is just beer. A gift from one intelligent being to another." Valthraxis drank. The liquid was cold and fizzy. It tasted like nothing she had ever experienced before. It was not pleasant, exactly, but it was interesting. "Well?" Dave asked. "It is acceptable." Dave laughed. "I praise from someone who spent the night trying to kill me." He took a long drink from his own glass. "So, let's talk." "Talk about what?" about how we end this. Without more fighting. Without more people getting hurt. Dave pulled out a small data chip and placed it on the bar. This has my proposal, but I'll explain it to you first. Velthraxis listened. Dave's proposal was simple. The workers on Kareth 7 would receive basic rights. Shorter shifts. Better food. Medical care. 1 day off per week. In exchange, they would continue working. They would continue mining. The ore would still flow. Production will actually go up, Dave explained. Because happy workers are better workers. Right now, you're losing 20% of your output to equipment failures. Most of those failures happen because exhausted workers make mistakes. Fix the exhaustion, fix the mistakes, fix the output. The hegemony does not negotiate with primitives. Then don't call it negotiation. Call it optimization. Call it efficiency improvement. Call it whatever you want. The point is, it works. Velthraxis thought about this. It made a certain kind of sense, but it went against everything the hegemony believed in. They will never agree. Maybe not at first. But here's the thing. Dave leaned forward. You can go back to your bosses and tell them the truth. Tell them that one maintenance worker from Duluth, Minnesota defeated your elite team using nothing but a wrench and a bad attitude. Tell them that I can do it again. And again. And again. They will send more forces. And I'll stop them too. Because this is my home now. These workers are my friends. And I'm not going to let anyone hurt them. Dave's voice was quiet but firm. Or you can tell your bosses something different. Tell them you found a way to increase production. Tell them you solved the problem. Take the credit. Everyone wins. Velthraxis stared at him. You would let me take the credit? I don't care about credit. I care about results. Dave shrugged. Back on Earth, I spent 15 years fixing problems that nobody thanked me for. The heating works. People are comfortable. Nobody thinks about the guy who made it happen. That's fine. That's how it should be. The work matters more than the recognition. There was a long silence. Velthraxis drank more of the strange human beverage. It was growing on her. Why did you stay? She finally asked. When your ship crashed, you could have tried to escape. You could have hidden until rescue came. Why did you stay and fight? Dave thought about the question. Because someone had to. Because these people needed help, and nobody else was going to give it to them. Because I was stuck here anyway, and I decided to make myself useful. He paused. And honestly, because I was bored. You have any idea how long 8 months feels when you're the only human on an alien planet? I needed a project. So, you started a revolution because you were bored? I started a labor movement because I was bored, and these people deserved better. The revolution part was just a bonus. Velthraxis made her decision. She took the data chip and put it in her pocket. I will present this to High Command. That's all I ask. They may reject it. They may send more forces anyway. Then I'll be here waiting. Dave raised his glass. But I hope they don't. I really do. Because I'm tired of fighting. I just want to make beer and help people and maybe, someday, find a way home. Velthraxis stood. She looked at the human who had humiliated her team, destroyed her reputation, and somehow made her question everything she believed in. You are a strange species, she said. Yeah, we get that a lot. She walked to the door. Then she stopped and turned back. The beer. Can I take some with me? Dave's face lit up with a genuine smile. Now you're speaking my language. He grabbed a container and filled it with amber liquid. Tell your friends about it. Maybe we can start a trade relationship. Cultural exchange. That kind of thing. Velthraxis took the container. It felt warm in her hands. Goodbye, Dave Kowalski from Duluth, Minnesota. Goodbye, Commander. Thanks for the conversation. 6 months later, Karath 7 became the most productive mining colony in the sector. Worker satisfaction was at an all-time high. Equipment failures dropped by 60%. The hegemony never acknowledged what had happened, but they also never sent another kill team. Dave's brewery expanded. He hired 30 workers and began exporting to 12 star systems. His beer became famous across the sector. He called it Hold My Beer Premium Ale. And sometimes, late at night, Commander Velthraxis would pour herself a glass of that strange human beverage and think about the maintenance worker who had taught her that size and power were not the same. To think that she still did not understand humans, but she was beginning to suspect that was exactly the point.